Tonight on Missing Persons Unit,
We're not here to arrest you, sweetie.
Detective Cosgrove finally catches up with 14-year-old runaway JD.
I told my mum I'm going out, so she invites a bunch of coppers over.
JD's back, but she's not happy.
No, I want to go out now. I told you yesterday I'm going out.
And the mystery of missing bushie Paul Laba.
He was known to walk great distances. He'd walk from his camp to the hotel, 60 kilometres, and have a few drinks and then walk back the next day.
But he hasn't been seen in a year. So what happened?
I didn't see her for a very long time.
And the high-rise search for dementia sufferer Kana Gutman.
You know her? Yeah.
Hello?
Lost for 24 hours, and this grandmother can't even speak English.
Starting to get real worried now.
Also, back on the Murray River and the case of the unidentified body.
Hopefully they'll be able to try and do a little bit of a reconstruction based on that profile.
Police forensics are close to solving the mystery. It's the start of another long week at the Missing Persons Unit.
There's quite a bit on today, including a few high-risk cases.
And missing people with dementia are a high priority again.
Mandy, there's a 79-year-old grandmother missing from Waterloo and her family's really concerned.
Mandy's taking the case of Russian immigrant Kana Gutman. Kana failed to turn up at her daughter's place at lunchtime yesterday and hasn't been seen since.
It says here she's got dementia. Poor old thing. It's really sad. We've had a lot of them lately, so she could be anywhere. I feel sorry for the family, because where do you start?
Andy, JD's finally turned up at home. How's that going?
Oh, she's returned after 4 weeks, and the Harbourside detectives are over there now making sure she's OK.
14-year-old serial runaway JD heard a police task force was searching for her, and after avoiding them for a month, she finally returned home.
Now, let's hope JD stays put for a while.
There's been no news on the unidentified body that's turned up in Albury. Liza's still down there, and hopefully the fingerprints will give us some further information on that.
Now it's time to answer some questions. 2 weeks ago, a body was found on the banks of the Murray River. Now, Liza's expert forensic skills are building the evidence to solve the case.
That's it for this morning. Have a great day.
Also at the Queensland Missing Persons Unit,
Can I speak to Sergeant Tony McDowell, please?
Senior Sergeant Jim Ryan is investigating the mysterious case of an Opal miner missing for over a year.
What time does the search start on Sunday?
Paul Laba vanished in the desert near Winton, 1,500 kilometres northwest of Brisbane, and fresh evidence has led to a new search planned to start shortly.
It's pretty rugged and pretty inhospitable terrain, so we're going to try again and see if we can turn anything up.
Meanwhile, back in Sydney, in the case of missing 79-year-old Kana Gutman,
Irina, it's Senior Constable Gar from the Police Missing Persons Unit. How are you?
Mandy's calling her daughter, Irina, to find out more about her mum's habits.
And what can you tell me about Kana? Like, she obviously hasn't done this before.
No, it's never happened with her before.
OK.
She always find a way to home.
Yeah. What about the neighbours?
One young man, maybe he said he saw her in the lift around 12 o'clock, like he has to leave.
Yeah.
In the lift, and that's it.
Where did she live before Waterloo?
Before Waterloo, she lived here on the Pitt Street.
I'm just saying, because a lot of dementia, people that suffer dementia or Alzheimer's and things like that, may tend to go back to where they lived beforehand, depending where their state of mind is at the time. We've had a few people make their way back to where they used to live, either, you know, growing up or the previous address. Bye. Poor thing. You feel so helpless, sitting at home, like, waiting for the phone to ring. Yesterday, she walked around and spoke to the neighbours. No one has seen her. People that knew her, no one's seen her anyway. So I'll ring Redfern and just sort of see where they're up to, if they need some help, and hopefully she'll turn up somewhere.
In Albury, Liza Brown and Detective Peter Owen are searching the walking tracks where the body was found and where campers discovered a backpack. On our last program, Liza and forensic dentist Chris Griffiths began their investigation to identify the body.
We believe it's a male between late 50s, early 60s, 172 centimetres, we believe. We've located the deceased here, snagged to a tree.
Dr. Griffiths began his investigation by building a profile of the dead man.
This bloke's had a huge amount of dental work.
And then an autopsy provided further clues to the man's background.
You're looking at probably $10,000 worth of work. They're reasonably well off.
Then the backpack found at the scene gave officers a snapshot of who this man might be.
Everything here sort of indicates a blue-collar worker.
But one item seemed out of place.
Where does this fit? And it doesn't fit.
So today, Liza's returned to the river to look for more clues.
The green backpack was just there. It was just neatly placed on the ground, just under the limbs of the tree here.
It's really in the middle of nowhere, isn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't hidden as such. It was just secluded by the fact that it's just off the track a bit.
And there's nowhere where you can actually sort of walk down and access the river in this part here. If you went into the river here, it would be a fairly good assumption that you would have fallen.
The waterways gave us the temperature of about 8.5 degrees on the surface, and as you go down, it gets obviously a lot colder. So if you were to go in and really not expect that sort of temperature and be a poor swimmer, it'd be fairly difficult to get out.
Very.
Especially when there's nothing to hold on to, you know.
No, there's not much to save you in there.
No.
If he did fall into these freezing waters and panicked, he may have dropped something in his struggle to get out. So Liza has called in police divers to comb the riverbed for clues. In the case of missing grandmother, Kana Gutman, Mandy's heading to Kana's flat in inner Sydney, the last place she was seen alive.
She walks from her home to her daughter's house, which is a 2 to 3 minute walk. She was on the phone to her daughter yesterday, stated she was leaving straight away, and she hasn't turned up basically, and she's not in any of the hospitals. The ambulance service haven't picked anyone up similar to her description in the last 24 hours. So yeah, it's a real puzzle where she is at the moment.
When they arrive at the public housing complex, she's joined by police from Redfern. Senior Constable Sandy Gibson
Redfern Police
and Constable Jason Check have been given a spare key to Kana's flat.
Kana.
Hello?
Hello.
Redfern Police?
And sadly, when police enter the homes of elderly people who live alone, they never know what they might find. But 79-year-old Kana isn't here.
We might ring the mobile number.
Yeah, do you want to give that a ring?
Just ringing the missing person now. Okay, it's gone to message bank, so there's nothing inside. She must have the phone with her.
Looks like she's got her wallet here.
And without her wallet, Kana couldn't have been planning to go far. So Mandy now has to rule out two possibilities: that Kana has met with foul play, or that she's had an accident somewhere in the area.
Gary, I'm going to go down the stairs instead of down the lift, just in case she's had a fall on the way down.
Back on the Murray River, police divers have arrived from Sydney to comb the river bed for any belongings the dead man may have dropped.
So we're going to get the divers to come probably upstream about 30 to 50 metres, and then from this point also downstream the same, and just do a sweep in this place here.
We'll go to as far as see where the current starts to pick up.
The water temperature is so cold, the divers have to wear dry suits to stay warm.
I believe the water temperature is sub 10 degrees, so it'll be quite cool. So our search time is going to be limited. It's going to be limited to no visibility, so they're going to have to do everything by feel.
The divers are tethered and working blind. Only by feel. Visibility is almost nil.
It's quite difficult. They're feeling around for personal items that someone would carry on themselves, like a wallet, phone, keys, that sort of thing. So they're quite small items, so the search is very slow and very laborious.
After dragging themselves along the bottom for 2 hours, and with the current getting more dangerous by the minute, they come up empty-handed.
Pretty fast-flowing water and very muddy as well, so that hardly any visibility at all. We were just going off feel, and at this stage we haven't found anything.
So for Liza, it's back to square one. But after 3 weeks, why hasn't anyone reported this man missing? Back in inner Sydney, Mandy's still searching the housing complex where Kana lives and asking neighbours if they've seen her.
Not speak much English.
Not much English?
No.
They're not seen her?
You talk to her.
Okay.
You know them.
Kana's friends are mostly Russian.
My name is Mandy. Oops. We're looking... Sit next to you? I can sit next to you. Kana.
Anya. Yeah.
You know her?
Anya.
You're Russian?
Yes, Russian. Moskva. Russian. А что она?
Yeah. Not well.
But obvious language difficulties make progress slow.
Thank you anyway. Thank you. It's nice to meet you. It's nice and cool out here for you. It's nice and cool under the trees. It's hot. Okay. Thank you.
But just as it all looks hopeless, Mandy gets encouraging news.
I was just over in 180 Pitt Street for another job, and I spoke to one of the residents there.
Yep.
He said a lady who he thinks was this lady here had fallen in the foyer yesterday at Pitt Street.
Yep.
She was disorientated, didn't know where she was, and the ambulance took her about 1 p.m. yesterday.
Yeah,
that's odd. Did anybody reckon looked similar to her? Yeah, like he was pretty sure it was her.
After no word for 23 hours, this is their best lead yet. Back in Albury, forensic photographer Andrew Walker is now the key to identifying the body found on the banks of the Murray River.
I got a shot from above and a profile shot from each side.
If the person's ever been fingerprinted or part of a government agency that fingerprints their employees, we might be able to get a match. Another option for us is to run the prints through Interpol to see whether or not it is a person who's here on holidays or a migrant.
Conventional fingerprinting won't work in this case, so Andrew zooms in to capture the fine details on the fingertips.
As you can see some good ridge details.
Yeah, I can see the ridge pattern on there quite clearly, so even though we don't have that top layer, we've still got something to go on.
We'll take them back to our office and run these photographs through their system and see if we can get a match on the national database of fingerprints.
If the man's fingertips are on record, these digital photos will reveal his identity. But then, just as she's about to leave the mortuary,
Hello?
Liza receives a call about a new development in the case. Back in Sydney, Mandy's still trying to confirm the identity of a woman picked up by ambulance officers about the same time Kana disappeared.
Was very disorientated, and the ambulance came and took her to a hospital.
But unfortunately, it's not good news.
We've spoken to the duty officer at Redfern, and he's basically confirmed that the lady that was picked up from Waterloo yesterday was of Greek descent, same age, so unfortunately it's not our missing person. We've got nothing to go on to say she's specifically in Redfern, so that makes it a little bit difficult as well. But Pat back at work is making some inquiries with the bank, so we've got a few things happening at the same time, so we just wait and see.
Here in Albury, in the case of the unidentified body, Detective Sergeant Stairs finally receives the missing persons report he needs to help solve this case.
Just so happened that they had a person reported missing from Melbourne, which matched the description of the deceased that we pulled out of the river.
The report from Victoria is the only real lead in this unusual case.
Did you want somebody from Vic or Missing Persons to turn around and attend the address where they're going to be doing the fingerprinting and check for things like the undies and the socks?
Yeah, it'd be a good idea if we can get it done.
Yeah. Okay. So do we have another...
A quick call to her counterparts in Melbourne, and the pieces of this missing jigsaw begin to fall into place.
It looks like his employer has called because he hasn't turned up to work for some time.
And then, that one item found in the dead man's backpack that seemed out of place suddenly fits.
He was a computer technician, which accounts for the computer converter that we found in the backpack.
To identify their man, police will use Andrew Walker's digital photos to match fingerprints from the missing person's house in Victoria.
I'm pretty confident at the moment. I'll be very surprised if it doesn't match.
But if the prints don't match...
We're straight back to square one.
It's now 28 hours since Kana Gutman went missing. Redfern's inspector, David Watson, is taking no chances.
What we're going to do this afternoon, we'll have to return back to the missing person's address, and we need to conduct a search for all the stairwells from the top to the bottom, just in case she may have had a fall going up the steps above her unit complex.
They've already searched there once, but on Watson's orders, they're doing it again.
We're heading back to the block of units this afternoon. Our lady's still missing. She hasn't accessed any bank accounts, and we've discussed it with the crime manager inside. And yeah, we think there's a need to increase our inquiries, and we're going to do a canvass at the units where she was last seen, and hopefully come up with some information. If not, well, yeah, starting to get really worried now because it's been a day and a half. So yeah, we're worried.
In Albury, Liza Brown has just received an address for the man reported missing in Victoria.
Hi, Leanne. It's Senior Constable Liza Brown calling from New South Wales Missing Persons. How are you?
She wants Victoria Police, who are at the man's apartment, to collect his fingerprints and details of his belongings.
Now we're looking for the size and style, of underwear and clothing, like generalised, like if there was any penguin shirts. Yeah, size XXL.
Liza hopes that clothing in the apartment will match items in the backpack found on the riverbank.
No, but we're just trying to identify because facial recognition's just going to be out of the question. All the clothing in that does match some reports of what he does wear. He's quite a casual dresser for his occupation. So we're looking into that at the moment as well. I think we've made an extraordinary amount of progress with, in conjunction with the local detectives and the Victoria detectives as well.
It's a good result, but this investigation still has a long way to go.
It'd be nice to walk away with something positive today, but it's not going to happen. We now just have to wait for process to take its course and sit there and keep our fingers crossed that we've done our job properly.
Back at the housing estate in Sydney, Mandy and local police are now so desperate to find Kana Gutman before dark that they're talking to everyone who's home. And that means more than 200 apartments.
She resides downstairs. Have you seen her at all today? Or yesterday afternoon, maybe?
No.
Do you think you might have a look and see if you know her?
I'm often with her in the lift, and particularly when it is cold, She says, "Oh, you have no stockings on." And she always had nice shoes on.
Yeah.
So,
she looks like a real lady, the photograph.
Lovely woman.
The police asked you upstairs about Kana. You hadn't seen her?
I didn't see her for a very long time.
A long time?
Long time, yes. I think she was going a little bit.
Oh, do you?
Yes.
Hello?
Worried that her 79-year-old neighbour is in trouble,
It's the police. Can you open the door, please?
her friend Barbara asks if she can make a plea for Kana's safe return.
Police, can you open the door, please?
Please, if you've seen her, she's been missing since yesterday afternoon. And she was going to go to her daughter's place, not far from Tauranga, only 2 minutes walk. Disappeared. Please, if you find anybody, please could contact the police.
2 weeks after returning to Sydney, Liza gets the call she's been waiting for from Albury detective Peter Owen.
Look, I just thought I'd give you a call. We've had a bit of a breakthrough down here with finding our missing person's identity.
Yes.
We've been working with the Victorian Police from Doncaster CI.
Yes.
They've been able to get some fingerprints from a person's unit down there that have matched our missing person.
The man found on the bank of the Murray River now has a name. He's a 51-year-old computer technician reported missing from Melbourne.
His family has been informed?
Yeah, the Victorian Police have done the notifications to the next of kin and yeah, that's all been done.
Right, okay. Well, that's good. At least, you know, we've got a bit of closure from both ends there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you're right.
That's great. Well,
All right.
look, thank you very much for all your help with that. That's just great.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for your help.
Okay.
All right.
No worries. Thanks
Bye-bye.
for that, Peter. Bye-bye. The coroner's also ruled that there is no foul play. It appears that the person has died due to an accident, a bit of misadventure, either fallen or tripped into the river and subsequently drowned. So now we're able to send the person back to their family and their family can start the grieving process.
At Brisbane's Missing Persons Unit, Detective Senior Sergeant Jim Ryan is working on the puzzling case of missing Opal miner Paul Laba, who disappeared in Queensland's remote outback 12 months ago.
He was 76 years of age, but extremely fit, a very wiry, quite a resilient man to mine in that area with just a pick and shovel.
Paul worked his mine near Winton, 1,500 kilometres northwest of Brisbane, an area so remote that only a skilled bushman like him could survive.
It wasn't uncommon for him to walk into town, the 60 kilometres, have a few drinks and walk back the next day. So he'd do a 120 kilometre round trip walk to the hotel.
But one day, a year ago, Paul walked off into the desert and never came back.
There's a little bit of fresh information that would indicate that he did make it back to his camp. However, that hasn't been verified. But there's sufficient there to warrant a further search.
Armed with this new information, in 24 hours, Jim and a team of volunteers will make one final search in the desert surrounding Paul's camp.
It's pretty rugged and pretty inhospitable terrain, so we're going to try again and see if we can turn anything up.
See you on Monday.
Okay, I'll give you a call and let you know.
And to get there, Jim will fly and drive for 8 hours into the scorching heart of outback Australia. Here in Sydney, 30 hours after Russian immigrant Kana Gutman went missing, Senior Constable Sandy Gibson's just received some heartening news.
We've had a broadcast over our police radio to let us know that the car crew of Camp C36 have located a missing female. They've taken her to Canterbury Hospital and she's presented with the name Anna Gidman, which is very similar to the name that she's given.
I might get onto the... Actually, I'll ring Camp C. Listen, we're investigating a high-risk missing person by the name of Kana Gudman. Camp C36 may have that lady at Canterbury Hospital. Yeah, just let them know to keep her there, not to contact family at this point till we can positively know it too. I don't want to ring the family if it's not. Sounds 99.9% yeah it is, but they've gone through enough today.
But the woman at Canterbury Hospital sounds enough like Kana for police to call an end to the door knock.
So excited.
Right.
Thank you for your
No
help
worries.
today.
Well done. Thanks for that.
Gosh, we missed out on doing 14 floors. We think it's her. She's in a little bit of a state in one of the streets, so they've obviously concerned for her welfare, have taken her up to the hospital to make sure she's okay. So now I just want to get there and make sure that it's her, and I won't advise the family at this stage because I don't want to do the yes, we found her, no, we haven't thing. So the sooner we get there, the sooner we can ring the family. So it's all good. She's not injured, so exciting.
In the case of missing bushy Paul Laba, Detective Jim Ryan is on his way into northwest Queensland to make one last search for this tough opal miner.
Searches were conducted. They were conducted on trail bike, horseback and on foot, but nothing was located.
As Jim drives through one of the largest and most unforgiving police jurisdictions in the world, he still hopes to find the bushman alive out here.
He shot game, kangaroo and wild pig, and lived on that a fair bit. He just used to salt it and occasionally go into town for supplies.
Town for Paul Laba is here in Winton, in Queensland's searing outback. The population is tiny, just over 1,000 people, most of them indoors, to escape today's 46-degree heat. This is the last place the bushie was seen alive. Down at Sydney's Canterbury Hospital, Mandy's hoping the mystery woman in the emergency department is Kana Gutman.
I'm anxious to get in there and confirm that so I can ring the family, because, yeah, the sooner we get in touch with them, the better. Anna, is this you?
Mandy has this photo of Kana, so she's able to identify her straight away.
That's you. You're missing. Irina, daughter. Everyone's worried. I'm glad you're okay. I ring Irina and then I'll let
All
her know
that matters now is that Kana's been found safe and well.
It's her. Oh, so exciting. She's sweet. She is. Yes. Have a cuddle. So I'm going to ring her daughter now, let her know she's okay, and then I'll take the phone in and let her speak to her, so that might calm her down a little bit. Very disorientated, but she's well, and apparently she's been here before, so excellent result.
In outback Queensland, Jim Ryan's first port of call in Winton is local policeman Tony McDowell, who's been looking for Paul Laba for over a year.
Yeah. Jim Ryan from Missing Persons. How are you?
Good, thanks, Jim. Good.
Good to meet you. How are you?
No worries. Have a seat.
Paul vanished on a remote cattle property 120 kilometres north of Winton. Police found his abandoned car on a bush track. 14 kilometres away, they found the car's broken radiator.
We think he might have been carrying it out and it's just got too much for him and he's left it hanging in a tree on the road.
And whatever happened to his car?
His car's still there. It hasn't been moved off the property and there's nothing else there at the car except for the fact that the radiator's missing. That's the only problem with it.
Police have now received information that on the morning before he disappeared, Paul talked to a farmer who noticed something unusual. The 76-year-old was wearing boots.
The property owner that spoke to him on the morning that his car broke down remembers him wearing the boots and was quite specific about it because normally he's barefoot. And he saw him wearing these fairly brand new boots and that's the tread pattern that we found in the bush, and they found him back at his campsite.
So Tony thinks Paul made it from his abandoned car back to his camp and Opal mine before he disappeared.
The little red dots you see beside here are his Opal mine sites. We've gone over them using cadaver dogs from Brisbane.
No, we can just you're on the way.
Before tomorrow's search, Tony's taking Jim to meet Paul's best mate, Butch, maybe the last man in Winton to see him alive. At the Sydney Missing Persons Unit, Senior Constable Andy Drummond has had a great result in his long search for 14-year-old runaway JD.
4 weeks after she went missing, she found out the police were looking for her. We located her and took her home, and now we've just got to make sure she stays home.
You know, if only I knew what she was wearing, you know.
On last week's program, JD's mother, who reported her missing, was sick with worry.
I'm very scared that she might put herself in danger.
After an intensive search failed to find any sign of JD.
We look at it from a worst-case point of view.
Then her best friend took police on a goose chase before realising how serious it was.
Last Thursday, she was just walking past.
The police search was then ramped up.
We're just trying to find a young boy, this boy.
But there was still no sign of JD.
Oh, I don't know this one.
But then, out of the blue, a sighting.
One of the tables outside, just having lunch.
So there's 2 girls there? She's one on the right.
Then, 4 weeks after she ran away, JD came home and police were waiting.
Listen, I understand you're having a few words with Mum. We're not here to arrest you, sweetie, OK?
I was saying if you wanted to do it.
No, listen, I've got nothing to arrest you for.
And I told my mum I'm going out, so she invites a bunch of coppers over.
Listen, can we just have a quick chat to you for a couple of minutes? You know I've been trying to find you for a little while.
All right.
And we had some real concerns about you, JD.
Yeah, I heard I was dead.
We had to just make sure you were all right. How's things?
It's good. I came home because someone I love told me to, not for the sake of coming home.
OK, all right. So what are your plans today?
I want to go out,
Yeah, OK.
but someone's stuffing it up for me.
Yeah.
You.
JD's home, but for how long?
You've hit it whether you've been dead in a gutter somewhere, whether someone's abducted you.
In outback Queensland, as the search for Opal miner Paul Laba hots up, Sergeant Jim Ryan is in Winton hoping for a fresh lead from Paul's best mate, Butch.
Butch, Jim Ryan from the missing person homicide squad in
It was Deputy Mayor and Town Mechanic, Butch Lenton, who reported Paul missing a year ago.
Do you know when you last saw Paul?
Would have been in September somewhere, you know, and you see him sort of monthly or every couple of months, and just when Christmas was getting close, we were just getting a bit concerned about he hadn't been around, that's all.
The vehicle, his car, it was in pretty good condition as far as mechanically, or?
Yeah, no, not all the time with Paul's cars, you know, real bush beat car, you know, sort of thing, and it had let him down before, you know, there's no two ways about that, you know, it wasn't the most reliable car in the world.
But Paul's old car let him down one time too many, this time in the middle of nowhere.
If he's out there somewhere, it'd be great just to find him. If he's gone away somewhere, it'd be great to know where he is.
He actually knew Paul fairly well. Paul used to come in a fair bit.
Another person who saw Paul on his rare visits to Winton was RSL manager Ian Hampton.
He'd sometimes come in and tell us stories and have a cry about different things and that sort of thing. Then he'd wander off and go somewhere in the taxi and then come back a few hours later and have a couple of drinks and then wander off. So it was, yeah.
So, Ian, when was the last time, to the best of your knowledge, that you saw Paul?
It would have been early December because he was talking about coming to the Christmas dinner here.
But Ian's information conflicts with other reports. It looks as if Paul went missing a month earlier.
So how often would he come into town or come into the club?
You wouldn't see him for, it could be 6 months, and then all of a sudden he just turns up. Yeah. Like when people said he was missing, it was like, not, you know, he may not be, we're still expecting to walk in tomorrow because that's the way he was.
Okay.
And that's still Jim's best bet, that Paul is out here in the desert and will turn up one day. Back at JD's house, Detectives Cosgrove and Flaherty make careful progress with a very angry young girl.
Our concern is whether, one, and you've hit it, whether you've been dead in the gutter somewhere, whether someone's abducted you or taken you away or something bad's happened. Your mum's been worried. We want to try and find out, one, where you've been, if anything has happened to you, okay? And also...
I can't give you that information. That's why there's going to be no conversation.
We're not here to arrest you or anything like that if you think that. We just need to confirm you're all right and nothing happened to you in that meantime.
Nothing did.
Okay. Are you prepared just to sit down for a couple of minutes with you? We'll ask you a couple of questions.
Right.
Okay, thanks.
It's an important breakthrough, and it will take all of Detective Cosgrove's experience to keep JD at home and off the streets.
You know, I'll tell you the stark realities of life, and you might think you're a pretty tough girl and 14, you've been knocking around doing all these things, okay? A lot of 14-year-old girls go missing and they never, ever get found. People abduct young girls, keep them in dungeons, prisons. Look, you mightn't think that happens. It does. What do you want to do with your life?
Yeah,
You know?
I want to live.
Of course you do.
I want to work and go to school and that crap. I'm not interested in it.
Okay.
I'm not good at it. I don't want to do it. That's it.
All right, but you want to travel, you want to do whatever. You know, if you're found dead, you're not doing any of that, sweetie, okay? Mum's been at a wit's end, okay? Your dad's been concerned. You've got a younger sister here. You've got a little baby brother from your dad, you know. They want to see you alive.
I've only seen him once.
Okay, but they want to see you alive. They don't want to be going to your funeral. Simple as that.
I don't want to see them, ever.
Okay, well, look, that's not my concern, okay? But it's your parents' concern. I mean, you're still their child, okay? And no parent ever wants to bury their daughter saying she got stabbed in the city at 14, you know? That's the stark realities of what happens in this city, okay? It mightn't happen to you and it might never happen to you, and I hope it never happens to you.
In outback Queensland, Tony and Jim check Paul Laba's camp to see if he's been back since the last police visit a few months ago.
Start off, this is your sort of kitchen area. He had plenty of food area there, dry food. The black box up at the top here, that's his meat safe. There is salted meat up there. And he had other dry veggies and that, so he had plenty of food here.
Nothing's been touched since Tony's last visit and since Paul went missing over a year ago.
This area here was like a workshop and tools. If he'd gone away, he would have dropped that door down, at least to protect his tools.
Yeah, you wouldn't want the weather exposing his tools.
No, not at all. His calendar is for November, when we believe he probably most likely disappeared, roughly.
December is still at the back of the calendar. It seemed logical to me that if he was here in December, he would have pulled November off. He's pulled every other month off.
Exactly. All through here, mainly all his clothing is here.
With plenty of food and all his personal belongings still here, Paul's disappearance just doesn't add up.
Over here's where I found his bank book and some medication and that. His bank book was in here.
The bank book is a major find. Without access to his money, Paul can't have been planning to leave his camp for long. So tomorrow's search in a new area where Paul's radiator was found could be Jim's best chance of solving the case. In the heart of outback Queensland, only hours before the final search for missing Opal miner Paul Laba, Tony and Jim are still searching his camp for any clue that'll unlock this mystery.
This was his dam that he used just for probably washing water and stuff like that. And we emptied it out to make sure that there wasn't anything in the bottom of it. He had a bucket that's inside the house with a rope. He used to walk out along that bit of a pole you see there and just pull the water out. This here was his greenhouse. He used to grow veggies. He used to,
Paul was totally self-sufficient, a real Aussie bushman who could survive for months without going into town.
When we got out here and at the end of January too, everything was dead in there. All right. Hadn't been touched for a number of months. We've covered all up around his mine side here and all around that hill, all the way around and back again. We've covered that by ground search with SES and police, and we didn't find anything there.
But before tomorrow's search, Jim's got one more crucial piece of evidence to check: Paul Laba's abandoned car. Back in Sydney, it's not going too well at JD's house.
Listen, you're home now. What are your plans? What are you going to do?
I want to go out.
OK, that's all right.
While Detective John Cosgrove tries to talk some sense into JD, her mum, Retha, waits outside reeling from her daughter's attitude.
Case of, you were so worried while she was away, but now the work starts again?
No, I want to go out now. I told you yesterday I'm going out.
Just the way she talks to me and stuff like that, it's just ridiculous. I mean, I'm sorry.
Well, hopefully we're very firm with the fact that, you know, she just needs to contact the police or contact you. Say, look, I'm good and well. Yeah. You know, we can reduce the risk for there. So as long as we know she's all right, I think she's aware of that, you know, phone home concept and you know, how much work the police have put into trying to find her. And
can't control her, and she's only 14, and all the trouble we've had in the past, the police was always there for me, and thank you very much.
It's funny. It's funny for me to watch them cry because they've made me cry before, so it's payback time.
Still a bit nervous, I think, everyone in the house, in that you don't know what she's going to do next. And...
But only 13 hours after JD came home, she heads back to the streets.
I'm unsure in how to control her because every time she runs away, she comes back, she's a bit worse.
It's enough to break any parent's heart.
I won't throw her out or anything like that. I'll never do it. I think it's very important that she knows there's always a back door open for her.
As JD disappears again, Tony and Jim have driven even further into the Queensland desert,
his car and his trailer,
to the remote spot where Paul Laba abandoned his car on his way to his other campsite.
Up in the hills, up another 20k up the back here, he's got an old campsite. And what he told the property owner, he was headed up there to pick up some gear that he left behind originally, some bedding, stuff like that, for his own camp where he is now.
But Paul never made it. His car broke down here, 20 kilometres from the nearest road.
See here under the bonnet here, the radiator was just wired in. You can see there's little marks.
Tony thinks that when Paul hauled out his busted radiator, he carried it through the scrub until he reached the spot where he stopped and hung it in a tree.
Where the radiator was found was off in this direction, probably about 14, 15 k's. Now, his footprints were found along the track here, heading over to the bore, and then that's where they disappear. And then they're picked up again on the other side of the bush, that bit of a hill range where his fence line is.
And that low ridge in the distance is where tomorrow's final search for Paul will begin. Back at Canterbury Hospital, in the case of Kana Gutman, Mandy's calling her daughter Irina.
This will be the call I've been waiting for all day. I hope they're home. Irina, it's Mandy. I have some wonderful news for you. We found your mum. She's fine. She's perfectly well. She's in Canterbury Hospital. The police picked her up today. She was very disorientated wandering around Kingsgrove.
But Irina won't be completely happy until she's spoken with her mum on the phone.
She's worried.
It's a short conversation, but the relief is immense.
What a day. We've had everything today. I'm not quite sure what I'm feeling at the moment. I'm feeling a lot of things. I'm so happy for the family. Beautiful people. I'm glad it's her. They're happy it's her. There's a few things that need to be cleared up.
While Kana's family is looking forward to tonight's happy reunion, they now have to think about what it means to put a loved one into full-time care.
Yeah, the hardest thing for a lot of families, and I've been through it with my own family, is to make that step to know that they need care that you can't give them. So I really feel for them for that, because they're going through a hard time as it is, but to have to look at making decisions to maybe put her somewhere where she can be better cared for. But yeah, look, they're happy, I'm happy, and yeah, I'll stay in touch for sure, because they're a lovely family.
In Queensland, Tony's about to brief the SES volunteers who will help search the surrounding desert for Paul Laba.
Those who haven't met me, my name's Tony McDowell. I'm the local sergeant here. Also like to meet Jim here from Brisbane, from the Missing Persons Unit.
Tony briefs the volunteers about Paul and the area where they'll be searching.
His car's broken down about 20 k's from the road, and he's actually walked out. We found footprints. The property owner found footprints at the time. We went searching back in February on motorcycles, and we actually found a car radiator hanging in a tree, roughly following the same path of where his car, the footprints, the radiator rode. It's almost a dead straight line.
He was known to walk great distances. He'd walk from his camp, he'd walk in to Middleton to the hotel, 60 kilometres, and have a few drinks and then walk back the next day. So he didn't necessarily have to have a motor vehicle to get around.
So what we want to do is go back over this area where, from the road up to where we found his radiator, to see whether there's anything there that we've missed, because there's a lot of wild pigs, dingoes, wild dogs. If there is any remains there, it will be scattered. This is probably our last chance to do a good-sized search for Paul in the area that we know he was. We know he's a fairly tough old bugger, so if anyone can survive out there in the bush, Paul can.
Every year, over 30,000 people go missing. Have you seen 70-year-old Shirley Doyle, last seen in Waitara, New South Wales in 1986? Or 24-year-old Simon Doolan, missing from Alice Springs in 2000. And 53-year-old Marie Agostini, who disappeared from Footscray, Victoria in 1984. If you have any information, please call 1800 333 000.